and also I was a big Christian Watson fan. And during that draft, so was his son. And then when Zack Tom went, because he was talking him up for weeks and weeks before the draft and kind of saying, like, who is this guy? Like, why do I like him so much? He looks really, really great, blah, blah, blah. And then when that 4th round pick came in, that's the happiest I've ever seen, Ryan.
All right,
other than when he's barbecuing.
Yeah. Hey, and let me tell you something, man. He dropped in at our draft party there in Green Bay, Wisconsin, before we all went over for day 2, I believe it was. And he brung a pork roast, pork butt's what it was, smoked pork butt.
Yeah, me and the missus had the leftovers. We appreciate every single drop of that. That was delicious.
I woke up Sunday morning at about 2:45 a.m., standing in the kitchen with grease on my hands and didn't know what was going on. I'm like, how did I get in here? And I was just tearing into it. Bro, it's unbelievable. So there's your Zack Tom update. Let's move it along now to another bit of news that dropped today, and that was this signing right here of wide receiver Will Shepard on the eve of training camp. So, Jacob, you usually get excited about these bottom of the roster guys, right? Like, I remember you getting excited about Ben Sims and me rolling my eyes going, I guess we'll talk about it, Jay, if you want to talk about it. He's probably going to be gone at camp. Now he's one of my favorite players on the team. I think he's an unsung hero. So, Will Shepard, one of these players, I think he's going to be interesting to see how he does. Now, let's just kind of talk about the details of everything, a little bit of roster, everything in between. Team and timing, the Green Bay Packers signed rookie wide receiver Will Shepard one day before their full roster reported for training camp as a part of their ongoing roster-building efforts. Player background, Shepard played 4 seasons at Vanderbilt with 43, 47, and 60 receptions. Guys, that looks pretty ascending, does it not? Improving every year. In his final 3 years there before transferring to Colorado for his final college season under coach Deion Sanders. Colorado performance. At Colorado, Shepard caught 48 passes for 621 yards, averaged 12.9 yards per catch, and 6 touchdowns, playing alongside stars like Travis Hunter and quarterback Shedeur Sanders. His career stats over 5 college seasons, Shepard amassed 200 receptions, 2,688 yards, 27 touchdowns with notable drop percentages of 4.1% in 2020. 4.8% in 2022, by higher rates in prior years at 16.1 in 2023 and 10.4 in 2022. So you even seen the drop rate go down, and that by definition is another aspect of an ascending performance as he's entering the league, right? Coaches praise. Deion Sanders praised Shepard's NFL potential at Colorado's Pro Day, highlighting his consistency, ability to win 50-50 balls, and strong character, calling him a tremendous asset. In high school, at Mandeville High School, Shepard recorded 62 receptions for 1,276 yards and 24 touchdowns in his senior year and averaged 20 points per game in basketball. Coach's endorsement, Devin Gonzalez, a former Vanderbilt assistant now with the Seattle Seahawks, described Shepard as one of the most physically gifted and dominant high school wide receivers he had coached. Roster context, the Packers returned their top 6 receivers from the previous season, added McCole Hardman, and drafted Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, creating a competitive receiver room with 13 players. As I read that part right there, guys, it just kind of feels like there's more and more of a chance that Romeo Doubs could get dealt before the season, because this receiver room, I'm not expecting.
I just caught the ball.
We know where Tim stands there. It just feels like, I know he's not going to make the roster. I know Will Shepard's not going to make the roster, but it seems like, Tim, they're setting themselves up on the backside of the roster at the practice squad to have 3 or 4 guys where they feel comfortable by the end of camp. You got these 2 you can stash.
How is nobody like through the roof excited about this? I see a lot of like, oh, we got so many receivers. What are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. Are you kidding me? We are in a position, going into training camp to come out of training camp with arguably the best wide receiver room in the NFC for sure. I think this is great. Like you said, Clay, it adds depth. Worst case scenario, he's a practice squad guy. Best case scenario, he blows the doors off of Ray Nitschke Field and impresses everybody. And we've got a more competitive wide receiver room. I love this. This is a great move right here.
Yeah. Jacob, am I wrong there, man? Listen, Doubs is one of our more consistent wide receivers, right? Great catch rate. Obviously, he doesn't have blazing speed or anything, but you could put him in the X, let him play in the phone booth. He's going to create enough separation. He got strong hands to make the catch. But am I wrong? Do you agree it kind of feels like maybe they are going to move on from Dobby, or do you think they'll keep him around, man?
I actually easy now, easy. I actually do agree. As you were talking, I put up Respect Oranges. He said this right before you brought it up live here. He said possible trade on Doubs, and I really do like Doubs. I do, and I think either the coaches or maybe somebody in his life talked to him, because I don't know if you've watched any of the Packers content on their, like, he seems much more engaged, much more energetic, much more talking. But even they just did a tribute today that they released on the Green Bay Packers YouTube page, where they were given like a send off to why did he just blank Mark Murphy. Thank you, Tim. And they had him and Jordan Love and Rashawn Gary and a few others, and he was much more. He just seemed much more energetic, and like I always compare Romeo Doubs. He has like the personality of Eeyore. You know what I mean? And it's like, why are you so down in the dumps? I don't understand. If it's like he's a younger kid, he thinks it's cool, like don't show emotion, whatever it is. But after a while, people just start to kind of grow away from that, and it makes it easier to fathom the fact that, yes, we may be able to let you go, man. Whatever reason, you just seem like you're not enjoying football in Wisconsin here. But I do say, I mean, dude, the six that we would hope that would make the team, and then our backup squad, the practice squad, I should say, if anything happens as far as injury goes, it's nice to know that we have an absolute deep well to go into. I saw somebody in the chat talking about how could we package multiple receivers and try to go out and do a trade kind of thing. I mean, I don't see that realistic, but I do think that once we get closer to the start of the season, once we get some training camp injuries from other teams as well, it might be a little more tempting, especially if we, I don't know if we could get more than like a fourth or something for him. If somebody offered us like a third, I hate to say it, but I'd probably take that deal.
And as big of a Rome fan as you guys know I am, we've talked about it for 3 years that the likelihood that we were going to keep Rome and Scoot is minimal.
Yeah.
One of those two is probably going to not be a Packer long term, and I think it's fair to think that maybe Rome is that guy. That being said, I hope it's not true. I hope he stays Packer for life, because I love Rome. You guys know that.
Dude, he's grown on me a lot, man. I've liked him since day one, but just seeing him battle through what he battled through last year, I wouldn't mind for him being on the team either. I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, it just sometimes you get that thought, that feeling like, hey, it might be something here. Now, someone sent this over to me earlier today, right? And this was tweeted out by @NFL Player Pulse. Packers Romeo Doubs via his Instagram stories with the song Daykeeper, a song about uncertainty and breaking free from obscurity. Last year, Doubs was suspended after complaints for his role in the offense. Could we see Doubs traded soon? So he tweeted this out, and just a picture of Steph Curry just kind of sitting there off to himself, just kind of sad looking. I don't know, man. It was just like, I don't know how you guys catch this stuff. Like, but somebody.
I will play devil's advocate. It could be the other way around. Maybe he's got clarity and he's got a more defined role now. And for all we know, hey, there is no trade. Yeah. Just saying.
It's Steph Curry in his prime was lethal. I mean,
he was a bad man. Exactly.
Do you
and also coincidentally enough, in his prime, a pretty soft-spoken guy until later in his career became a little more of a vocal leader. Just like Jacob was saying, we've seen a little bit of Rome kind of coming out of his shell a little bit here. So, read into subliminal tweets all you want. It could go either way. That's my opinion.
Can you guys in the chat answer this question? Coach Len just posed. He goes, I'd keep Watson if I had to have the choice. So in the chat, let us know real quick. Would you keep, if you had to take one, Watson or Dobby? Which one are you going with?
I'll tell you what I'll do, Jacob. I'm going to try to throw a poll question up right now. Which would you rather keep, right? Which would you keep talking?
Yeah. Chris.
This receiving is tough.
Chris said, didn't we just sign another wide receiver? Yep. I'm assuming you joined a little late, Chris. We just talked about it. The guy from Colorado who played at Vanderbilt for the bulk of his career. I did not know that. But Will Shepard, I believe, was his name. So we are plumb deep at the wide receiver position. All right. We got some people answering in here. It seems to be Watson by a landslide.
Yeah. And you guys go vote for me. All right. We just put a poll question up here on YouTube. So we'll try to, if you guys will remind me at the end, I'll tally that up as well. I think it'll be Watson. He'll run away with it. But again, man, there's nothing wrong with keeping Romeo Doubs around, letting him play his contract out, and having that extra, chemistry that Jordan's had all along the way for sure. But back to Will Shepard here and kind of the roster moves. So roster moves, the Packers released 2 young defensive linemen prior to signing Shepard, meaning no additional roster move was needed to accommodate him. Training camp outlook, the upcoming training camp starting July 22nd will determine which receivers earn spots on the 53-man roster or the 16-man practice squad. Now, when you look at the RAS for Will Shepard coming out of college, he officially measured in at the combine at 6'2.5". All right. Ooh. His weight was 203. His overall RAS was an 8.72. All right. His vertical jump 40.5 inches, which scored a 9.74. His broad jump 10.06, scoring an 8.73. Now the 40-yard dash was a 4.59, so he's not a speed guy, right? That scored just a 4.82. 20-yard split at a 2.84, scored a 5.9, and then the 10-yard split was the strength. So he has a little more burst off the line as opposed to long end speed. With a 6.64 score there on the 1.58 10-yard split. And the shuttle wasn't horrible either, 4.31 scoring a 5.25. However, overall RAS 8.72 has a lot to do with a 6'2.5" frame. This screams to me a Malik Heath, someone like that, who's going to be on the practice squad for the next 2 to 3 years, what it feels like.
Or even just looking at the RAS numbers, it screams like I understand why people are saying, oh my God, is Rome trade bait? Because, I mean, you look at this RAS score, you look at the physical attributes, we know he's not the fastest guy, but, look at everything else on the RAS score. I mean, it's comparable to a guy like Romeo Doubs. So maybe he's not going to jump off the chart on you, but could be, one of those possession receivers that you're looking for, 6'1" or above, long-term type of dude. I can see the logic why people are automatically turning their gears thinking maybe Rome's trade bait. Honestly, looking at this, but I'm with you, Clayton. I think, probably practice squad, hopefully, at best.
And when you look at the PFF grades, starting in 2020, minimal snaps. This is in college, of course, with Vanderbilt, 63.8. 2021, he became a starter or played the majority of the snaps, 62.2. 2022, he got all the way up to a 75.2 PFF grade. Really solid grade there. 2023 took a slight step back to 68. And in 2024, on that somewhat more loaded roster, I think you would say, than Vanderbilt, speaking in that regard, at Colorado, a 60.8 there. So he lines up out wide. Last year, 715 snaps. He was in the slot, only 29 snaps. So this is a guy who's probably going to play X, I would imagine. X or Z is kind of that bully X is what it feels like. But, yeah, that's the PFF grades there. And, again, they had him listed at 6'3". Obviously, the RAS card said he was a little under 6'3". What do you think, Jacob, after looking at everything here? Do you feel like it's just going to be a practice squad guy? Do you think there's a chance he could fight for a spot on the 53, or is that receiver room just a little too loaded? I'll pull the depth chart up for you here, too, as I ask you that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know I love the underdogs, the UDFAs, the late-round draft picks, all that jazz, for sure. I don't think that there's a snowball's chance in hell that he cracks the 53 this year. I do think, though, that they are setting themselves up to have, again, a Malik Heath, even like a Cornelius Johnson, somebody where it's like, we don't know exactly their potential. I think we know obviously more of Malik Heath, but there's about 5 or 6 dudes that right now are on this team that aren't starters, from Julian Hicks to Cornelius Johnson, even Sam Brown Jr. You add in, what could be the tweener of Bo Melton, Malik Heath, and then adding Will Shepard to that group. I mean, that just makes me feel very confident that no matter what happens going into this season, no matter what injuries that hit that wide receiver room, we still have a fighting chance, and not like I think that we have a legitimate chance, which is crazy to say, that if one of our receivers goes down, the guy that replaces him is possibly better. And that's crazy to say that, but it's possible.
Right. Tim, what do you think, man? Will Shepard practice squad, or is he got a shot for the 53?
Well, I think just a few short days ago, we were talking about, was McCall Hardman going to be on the 53 or maybe?
Right.
So, I mean, I think
no chance, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of talent here. Like I said, I'm leaning towards practice squad for him. But to Jacob's point, man, I mean, there's a competitive receiver room here. And this is what I think the emphasis was, the focus, put an emphasis on making a competitive receiver room as you go into camp, because, we can be bulletproof when it comes to injuries. Hell, we've got guys injured going into this season in our receiver room. So it makes perfect sense to make it competitive. Honestly, though, Shepard looks like a guy that, unless he absolutely, like I said, blows the doors off at training camp, I don't know. Or maybe becomes a special team ace, something like that. When you get a competitive room, you got to look at the versatility factor of a lot of these guys and, who brings more than one attribute to the game. And those are the guys that might play their way onto the roster. But at the end of the day, I don't see Will Shepard making the 53 over a guy like McCall Hardman, Malik Heath, or hell, even Bo Melton for that matter.
This receiving is tough.
I think it's very well said, man. So we're all on the same page there. I think he's going to be playing for a spot on that practice squad. And again, I'm excited to see what Malik Heath can do. You guys know I've been pretty vocal. If I had to choose between Malik Heath and Bo Melton, I'm going Malik Heath, just to be honest with you, man. His catch rate over expected is led the team in catch rate over expected.
The fact that he's an absolute dog.
Yeah, he can block.
He can block.
Emilio
the water cooler.
That's right. Built the ass block too, man. Sure. So.
Real quick before we move on from Will Shepard, Coach Len was asking, why did Shepard not pass his physical in Tampa Bay? So I'm assuming maybe he was a UDFA over there and that they is that what happened?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Ass. Real quick. Keep talking for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, you go back to what we were just talking about Malik Heath and how valuable he is. We mentioned earlier about how the offensive line is getting bulkier and bigger because we want to emphasize the ability to run. How much do you think the ability to run or wanting the ability to run would influence that wide receiver group? Does that make sense?
Oh, man, big time. I see where you're going, right? I mean, if you want to run the football, if you want to run duo or, the occasional outside zone or off tackle stuff, we see Josh Jacobs making, what's the old the phrase Clayton, the country phrase,
chicken salad out of chicken poop.
There you go. Chicken salad out of what. Yeah, so it makes sense that you would want physical wide receivers that can block in the run game. Give that deceptive, make it look like you're running a route and then engage in a block down the field so your running back can tear ass down the field for a tutter. So I think there's total logic behind what you're saying for sure. And in that respect, I would take a Malik Heath over a Bo Melton. No disrespect to a Bo Melton, but Malik Heath is going to block someone to the water cooler, like we said before.
Yep.
Yeah, and we asked the old Grokster over on X and said, "Hey, man, what's up with Will Shepard?" Right? It says Will Shepard, a former wide receiver for the Buffaloes, Vanderbilt Commodores, reportedly failed his NFL physical with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as noted by Fox Sports' Greg Amman. The specific reasons for his failure were not detailed in the available information, but it was reported that despite appearing healthy during Colorado's Pro Day on April 4th, he did not pass the physical examination required to join the team as an undrafted free agent. Consequently, Shepard was not included in the Bucs' announced list of 15 undrafted free agents. He will need to seek another opportunity with the NFL team, which is obviously how we got here. So I would not be surprised after reading that. If this is that old, the Grandpa Simpson meme where he walks into the bar, sets his hat on the hat rack, does a circle, puts it right back on and walks out the door, it might be something where he fails it here, right? So that wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And again, when we talked about some of the NFI list, the PUP, all that stuff, Tim, this is what we were hitting on, right? Yep. You put those guys on that list. It's not that they're going to be hurt as you start camp, but this gives you a couple of days to, hey, all right, let's run some cattle through the stall here, right? And take a quick exam. All right, are they going to make it? No, they're not physically fit. Let's get them out of here and then get the real 53 in. Hardy the Prophet with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says competition plus competitive spirit is the equation for star density. Man, that's deep. We could look up at the end of the year and have 6 top 50 receivers. Hey, I'll tell you this, Hardy. I've said it before, and I still feel this same exact way. We don't have a true number 1 on the team as of right now. Boy, we got a room full of number 2s. I mean, we really do. I think at least 4 or 5 receivers on this team could go on to other teams and be the number 2 receiver. So,
and I love that. I love that approach. Honestly, I do, because we can look at all these other teams in the NFL and we can point right at their number 1 threat, and we know who to double. We know who to shade coverage towards. We know who to focus on. What do you do when you're 5 wide and everybody on the field is a threat and you can't really zero in or focus on one player? I love that approach. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you again, Hardy. Appreciate the super chat, buddy. You're always too kind. Ed Madden said maybe less condensed formations and more power spread with the smaller receivers. I've been thinking about this here lately, guys. I've been studying college football and college schemes. And one of the things that I've been really focused on is the Tennessee offense down here. You guys know Sampson, their running back, got drafted just now. I think he set the Tennessee school record for rushing, or maybe it was rushing touchdowns last year. You look at that and go, man, he's dominant in the SEC running the football. That's great. Well, what they do is they'll literally put two receivers all the way on the Baylor splits and stacked. Like they're literally 2 feet from the out of bounds line stacked. And then the opposite side of the field, 2 receivers stacked. And then they'll have the running back in the backfield. They'll actually have 3 receivers on that side too. And what you force the defense to do is you force them, do they want to play? They can't play triangle and box on both sides. They can't play box on the 3, triangle on the 2, and then still load the box against a run. Well, guess what? You got a light box. How cool. I was thinking this the other day. If I was Matt LaFleur, love the condensed sets. You don't take them out of your playbook. Add 2 or 3 sets into your playbook and come out with those Baylor splits and force. Could you imagine Josh freaking Jacobs running the football with a light box while they've got 3 and 4 defenders on the outside covering those Baylor splits? And if you're wondering what a Baylor split is, you hear us say nasty split. Nasty split is when the receivers line up inside the numbers. A Baylor split, I'm telling you, they are right on the out of bounds line. So you're stretching the defense out pre-snap horizontally. Josh Jacobs he'd be smiling like a possum in a dumpster if he had a light box to run against it. There's no 2 ways about it. So
He is a possum in a dumpster.
there it is. Right on cue.